Hi everyone, this is Susan Knowles with Stand for Truth Radio, and this is a segment I do called Knowles on the News. I wanted to come on and talk to you a little bit about what's been going on in the news lately. Now, as you may recall, the DOJ and Apple were sort of in a tug of war. The DOJ wanted Apple to turn over proprietary software information to them, which would allow the DOJ to open up an iPhone that the San Bernardino terrorist had. Now, what wasn't told so much in the news is that at one point the DOJ actually had the password for the iPhone, but somehow lost it, misplaced it, or the phone locked and they weren't able to get back in. So, due to their mishandling of information, it seems, that's why they were in need of Apple to give them the information. Now, I argued with a number of people on Twitter who kept saying to me, oh, we need to hand over that information. It's public safety and Apple should hand that over. And as you may know, there were protests of some people who kept saying, yes, Apple, you need to hand over that information. Our safety is more important. Now, while you can understand those arguments, what those people fail to understand is that every time that you give the DOJ or our government information like that, it's a violation of everyone's Fourth Amendment rights. And sooner or later, we won't have those rights. And it's easy to say, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, how does that violate your rights? I mean, I would hand that over because I'm not doing anything wrong. That's not the point. Our constitutional rights, each and every time somebody like Apple gives in, causes us to lose our freedoms one more time. So I was a big proponent for Apple to stick to their guns and not give the DOJ that information. Well, the DOJ now has dropped the lawsuit against Apple because they got the information from someone else and how to open up the iPhone. Now, as I said previously, I have no proof of this, but I really feel it was probably somebody who's a former employee of Apple who knew the ins and outs of the iPhone and was able to tell the DOJ how to get into the iPhone. Now, also part of the argument was, well, we only need it for this one phone. We're not going to use it for anything else. It's just this one phone, this one time. And that's also the argument that some of the proponents for the DOJ brought up and saying, oh, this is just a one-time thing and just this one phone. Think again. The DOJ is already saying, we're not sure, maybe this will work on other iPhones. And apparently there are other iPhones in other cases they want to use this information on. So this should be a lesson to everyone that once you give up your Fourth Amendment rights and you open up that door just a little bit, that's all that the government needs is to open that door wider and take a bigger leap through that door. And don't be surprised if one day your information is something that they might need and they'll get that way. Never give up your constitutional rights. Now, in other news, I don't know if you saw what happened on Easter in Orange, Connecticut. It was kind of an embarrassing thing, but it's something I think it's worth talking about because it involves character. By that I mean the Pez Candy Company decided that they were going to have an Easter egg hunt, which in today's world, it's that somebody would call it Easter is profound in and of itself, but they were going to have an Easter egg hunt for the community. They had 9,000 eggs hidden in 3 separate fields, and what they wanted to do was they had a field for the really young kids, and then a little bit older kids in the second field, and then the kids that probably shouldn't have been looking for Easter eggs in the first place in the last field. Well, what happened was there are rules, you know, you want to keep everybody safe, and so there are rules about start and finish and what everybody's going to do. Well, apparently the parents felt that those rules didn't apply to them and it didn't apply to their kids. So they start running onto the fields before the Pez people said go. Well, as a result, one woman claims that her son was pushed down and had a bloody nose. Another one claimed that the basket of one kid was crumbled, you know, crunched in the trampling by the adults. And this other little boy, a cute little 4-year-old, you know, said basically that somebody had broken his basket and taken his eggs, and it was very rude behavior. So I think that the 4-year-old was probably the only one there that had character and knew what that was. And I started thinking, this is something, this is an entitlement that people think they have, that that they're entitled and they deserve to get whatever they can, even if it means trampling little kids to get it, because their kid or they deserve whatever they want. We know that never works. And it is a part of character. And I think a lot of times parents would say, oh I would never want my kid to do that, or I'd never teach my kid to do that. Well, unfortunately, the leaders to these kids are their parents, and they are learning that whatever you want, just go take it. It's kind of like looting on a smaller scale. It's not as severe as in Baltimore, but it's looting of a different type of thing. And I think when this happens, we look at that and we say, parents, you're the leaders of these children. And then we have our presidential candidates who are going back and forth and smear campaigns talking about affairs and who had an affair and who didn't. And I'm questioning the character of our candidates because to me, character is important. And I know that a lot of times people give politicians a slide. They go, you know what? That's just the way it is. That's who these people are. And I guess a lot of people gave Clinton a slide and let him go through and gave him a pass, I should say, instead of slide. Let him have a pass with Monica Lewinsky because it's like, oh, well, that doesn't have anything to do with the White House, and we should just let that pass. Well, character has everything to do with the integrity of our country, and the integrity of our leaders should reflect that. So I think it's something that we need to get back to, and we need to hold all of our presidential candidates to that standard. Now, is that possible? Probably not, especially not in this election, but it sure would be a good thing. And I don't think that we should just say it no longer matters to us, because character is what this country is based upon. It's what we've always been based upon, and that's what sets us apart from other countries, that we do have integrity and we do have good moral character, and we should get back to that and demand that from our leaders, whether it be our parents or our government leaders. Now, also, the Trump campaign is moving forward in trying to get Louisiana delegates decertified. Apparently, because Trump won Louisiana, he believes that he should have all the delegates, and certainly nothing less than not the delegates less than what Cruz has. And so far, he's got less delegates from Louisiana than Cruz had. So that's going to be a bone of contention. Now, you can look at that and say, well, that's just trying to deny Donald Trump his due, what he's due. But you could also make the argument that if you look over on the Democratic side, there have been many times that Bernie Sanders has won a state and Hillary Clinton has gotten the delegates instead. So I think we have to kind of weigh what's really going on, if it's something that the Republicans are doing that isn't ethical, or if this is part of what has always been done. And I think we need to look at that. And I also think that we're going to be seeing more of this. There's probably going to be a lawsuit coming out of the Trump camp. Now, I also want to mention that there's been some talk that Trump has some type of, I don't know, issue with women. 70% of the women, according to some polls, are saying they disapprove of Donald Trump and how, his language and what he's doing, and they're just not willing to, at this point, favor him. Some of the things too that he's been accused of saying to women, and some that he's admitted to. And I think that is a huge problem for Donald Trump, one that he should work on quickly if he wants to get the vote, because a lot of times women voters are the ones that decide who wins the race. And unfortunately, I think that's what happened with Obama. I think it was the women who actually put the vote over for Obama. We don't want that happening again. So, Mr. Trump, I think you should work on getting your PR with women, get that out there, start working on that if you expect to win. And finally, you remember Sean Diddy Combs, the big music mogul. Well, he has decided that he wants to open up a charter school in Harlan for kids. not a bad idea. Not sure he's the one that is the best teacher, but he certainly is the one with the money. And he wants to do that with Steve Perry. Now, while it sounds like a good idea, some of the things that I don't think are good ideas. Number one, he wants to base the school on social justice. And that's what we've seen out of the Obama administration. And some of the things about how this charter school is to be run gives me some cause for concern. Number one, the teachers are going to be called illuminators and not teachers. Now, why are they called illuminators, you ask? Well, because they see their roles as co-parents. Where have we heard that before? Melissa Harris Perry or Perry Harris or whatever it is. That's where we've heard it. Yeah, they want to train your children because parents, you're just not capable of doing it as well as they can. Also, part of what they're going to be doing is they're going to be calling parents every 2 weeks and checking on them and I guess trying to find out if they're doing their good parenting or not. And they also want to check on the students' social emotional needs. They're going to be sitting down with the children that go to the charter school and making sure that their emotional and social needs are met. And they're also going to help them identify and solve community issues. They want them more involved with the community and helping the community. I wonder if that's more like community organizers, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And then they want to help them go to a four-year college. I don't know if that's so they can go and join the Black Lives Matter people that are in some of these liberal colleges in order to spread the social justice. And I think that the progressive left has spread enough of the social justice in a whole bunch of places to last a lifetime. So until next time, this is Susan Knowles with Knowles on the News. Talk to you soon.